You're listening to the Lux Life Discovered podcast, where we talk with people who are living a lifestyle that reflects their passion, because we believe everyone should be living their best life, their Lux Life. The show is hosted by Rick Steiner with Steiner Event Group, a premier national event planning company. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notifications of future episodes. The show is produced by 30A Media and is broadcast on your favorite podcast outlets, as well as YouTube, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TVs, and other major brand smart TVs.
Hello, I'm Rick Steiner. Welcome to Lux Life Discovered. My guest today is Dallin Rogers with FitCon. So Dallin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I am excited to be on here.
Well, I'm honored to have you. I tell you what, it's been great meeting you. You know, we met several years ago and stayed in touch. And when I first came out to FitCon, I was just impressed when I had seen part of your promos online about this great event that you began and started. And when I came out, even more impressed because of the scale of it, but not just the scale, but the quality of what all you brought to that event.
Thank you. How did you find out about it? I don't think I've ever asked you.
Somehow, yeah.
Really?
Social media somehow, yeah. And I reached out to you and you replied right away, and it just like everything clicked immediately. So yeah.
That's amazing.
So how did FitCon originate? Because
yeah,
that's a small endeavor.
Yeah, that's not it. That's a little bit of a complicated question, but I'll try and dumb it down to as simple of an answer as I can. So when I graduated college, I got into training athletes, the sports performance realm, and we had won an award called Best of State. And this award was for the best sports performance fitness training facility in the state of Utah. So I attended this ceremony to receive the award, and I was looking around and I was like, it was this event with all these people and vendors there, and we had to pay to be there, even though we were winning the award. And I was like, this is just such an interesting concept. So from there, I actually started a company called Utah's Top Trainer to kind of emulate that, which was a terrible idea. And I never even launched it really. It was more just like, it started the motion of thinking of this whole concept of events. And from there, I was like, well, why don't we just put together some sort of fitness expo where companies pay us to come and then attendees pay us to come, and we connect companies and attendees together so they can shop with each other, and we provide entertainment and all sorts of things. So in a very, very long and complex time, that's a short story of how it came about.
Okay. And I'll tell you what, that's for anybody that's not familiar with events or planning events or starting something, especially at this scale, there's a lot of sweat that goes into it, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of long hours. And so to bring the quality, how long did it take you? Because when I came out the first time, I think you had like 20 to 30,000 attendees in 2 days. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I totally wasn't prepared for that because, you know, you go to other fitness events and they're nice, but I mean, yours was like top notch. So how long did it take you to get to that level?
Yeah, I think, well, our first year we had about 10,000 people. And then every year we were about 2,500 to 5,000 more people. And so by about year 3 or 4, we were right around that 20,000 mark. And you know what I found though, and this would just be advice to anybody who's running any business, but specifically events, is there's the same amount of work that goes into it for an event with 500 people as there is for 30,000 people. Like
Right.
The work stays the same as far as stress, anxiety, what needs to take place, looking at all the little details, understanding flow, understanding marketing, the whole 9 yards, right? And so I think a big shift that happened for me was, well, if it's the same amount of work putting on an event with 2,000 people, I may as well go big for 30,000 people, right? And so that really expanded us on how we promoted and how we marketed and what type of event we had.
True, yeah. My first event that I ever did was in Sandy, Utah. You know, I've talked about this before. It was 2,000 people and 2,200 alpaca. And so I started on not on a small scale. And then, fast forward like 6 or 7 months later, I had a very small event. And I was more stressed on the small event because,
Yeah,
like you said, the work is there. You have to do all the
it's the
planning,
same.
everything. And so it's easier to do it's kind of easier to do the larger events than the small ones because if I'm gonna do the work, I'd rather
Yeah,
have the larger event. So yeah,
yeah. Or your smaller ones are a higher price ticket, to make up for the
oh,
lack of
definitely.
size. But and that's what we realized because I ran a few other events too in the off season of FitCon just to kind of keep momentum going. And these were substantially smaller events. And I remember when I first ran it, I was like, cool, we'll just put this event on. It shouldn't be too big of a deal. We'll keep it small just to kind of, keep some momentum. And my goodness, it was the same amount of work as our big one. So it was like, why? What am I doing wasting my time here? I may as well spend that energy on what really moves the needle.
Yeah, we gotta live and learn, don't we? Yeah.
That's the truth.
So when you're putting on a scale like an event on the scale of FitCon, how when you're securing your vendors, okay, because that's a huge part of what you're doing because it's not just having vendors, but having the quality vendors, and in this case, some of the top tier vendors in the fitness industry. So how was
Yeah.
it when you approached them originally? Were they receptive to it, or how did that go?
Well, I think that in the state of Utah, there was a much needed fitness event that hadn't happened. So there was a little bit of an edge on my side. However, trying to get the national brands, no one even blinked an eye at us. And so I remember when I first started it, I had two options. One, we could slowly or organically build up into, every year become a little bit bigger and bigger, where they would start paying attention. Or two, I could bring in a really big name that would bring legitimacy right away. And so I ended up booking Ray Lewis my very first year. And the only reason I did that was it was more of a sports feel for this show. And I booked his name because when I went to sponsors, I didn't want to say, hey, I'm FitCon, we're a fitness expo. I wanted to say, hey, we're FitCon, we have celebrities coming like Ray Lewis, and because it brings us another level, and those big sponsors are more likely to pay attention. So that helped get us started on the large scale sponsors. They didn't all convert that first year, but we were on their radar. And then from then on out, it just was that relationship building process.
Right. It's like they want to invest in you, but they want to also know that it's going to be legit and long lasting because
Well,
that's
yeah, I think a lot of people I'm just talking event specific. What they don't understand is the whole ROI side of things. A lot of people look at events and say, I just need to get sponsors for my event, right? And so there are sponsors who just want to help support local causes or local things, right? But the vast majority of sponsors or vendors are okay, what's the ROI for me? And when we shifted our thinking to okay, what is the ROI? We started to realize that there was different verticals on the ROI, and we found that for local businesses, it's a direct ROI. What I pay in my booth or sponsorship fee, I want to make up at the show. For the medium-sized businesses, it's really a combination of I want to make my booth fee or money at the show, but I also understand the networking component. I also understand there's influencers here I can network with. There's other sponsors here I can get my product in, right? I'm getting eyeballs on my brand, which is really good. And then our large companies are how many eyeballs am I getting on my brand? I don't care about selling product. I just want eyeballs on my brand. So when we really dissected that and understood all three components, it allowed us to create sponsorship packages around their ROI needs. And that I really feel is what took us to the next level, as opposed to just, hey, come be a vendor at our show. Enjoy it,
yeah,
right?
you're just filling the
So
spot. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I tell you what, and then of course when you started, media influencers weren't that as common as they are now. So where do you see that coming in for because you kind of stepped away from FitCon for a couple of years and now you're back and very glad that you're back. I want to say
Thank you.
that. And not, I mean, it's been fun working with the other group the past couple of years, but you just bring some energy and dynamic to it and I think part of it's because it's your baby. You started it and you take more personal investment and pride in it. So I'm excited you're back with and FitCon is under your reign again because it's exciting to see what's going to happen with this next show.
Yeah, and I think that's true. But I also think too, from if you're talking from just a broad business perspective, understanding and having a super clear vision on what it is you're actually trying to accomplish is key. And I think that maybe the last couple of years that wasn't there. Where I understand that I run an event, this type of event, I'm really an entertainer. So from an attendee standpoint, how do I make this as entertaining as possible, right? When someone pays me money to come through the doors, they're looking for what exactly? And really chunking down and understanding that helps you to program the entertainment, what guests to bring, etc. Whereas a lot of people think of events as, oh yeah, if I just put it out there, people will come, and they don't really understand the psychology behind it. And I think that that's where a lot of issues might have happened, where it was, we'll just put on this event, our brand name is strong enough for people to come and they're gonna have a great time. Well, that is true, but it's not, because you really got to understand the type of entertainment you're bringing to the show.
Right. And also you have to understand what they were expecting compared to, I mean, in relation
Previous
to what,
years.
yeah. And
Hmm.
I think that's where a big difference has been. So as you're preparing for FitCon in August, it's going to be August 1st and 2nd of 2025, right?
Right. Mhm.
Yep. So what are you bringing back to FitCon that, so if somebody's watching this and they came previously, but not before the last, it just came within the last couple of years. So
Mhm.
what is there, what would there be that you should bring them back for them to see?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. The first one is a more dedicated sales um, team on our end, where the vendors make our show. So the more dynamic, the more of quantity and quality of vendors at our show, the more our attendees stay and shop and see the latest product. So that's number one thing we're going to be focusing on, is getting our vendors back that really move the needle on our show. Number two, there was an influencer and fitness influencer guest list that was missing from previous years past. And while you don't necessarily see a direct ROI on that, people do like coming to the show and seeing different influencers and guests and being around it. I think it brings an energy to the show. And then the last thing is our competition platforms. We're really going to focus on putting them on a pedestal where you get to see it and experience it, bringing unique competitions around, things that other people haven't seen before, making them fun and energetic. But really, we're just getting back to our core roots of what built us.
Right. And that is something that's fascinating with your event, because it's not just a fitness industry expo. I mean, there's so much going on that if you are bored at that event or you can't find
Yeah,
something that piques your interest, it's you.
yeah.
Because I mean, you talk about some of the different competitions though that people may not be familiar with.
Yeah, well, that was part of the goal was I wanted you to sit there and be watching maybe a powerlifting meet, which is very common at different fitness expos, and then right next door, you have armored combat with guys holding big axes and knives hitting each other, fighting like medieval times. And then you turn around and you're like, oh, there's sumo wrestling. I've never seen sumo wrestling before. And then over here we got MMA fights and Muay Thai fights, and then over here we got fencing or table tennis, right? And so you're getting exposed to all these different modalities of fitness and entertaining competitions that maybe you've never seen before in your life. And so that was really what built us and built the brand.
Yeah, and that's huge. So will CrossFit be a part of it this year again,
Yeah. Yep.
or
Yep.
next year?
We have a CrossFit competition happening again. So that'll be, I guess we technically have to call it functional fitness because it's not a technical CrossFit competition, but a CrossFit box will be putting on a functional fitness competition.
All the just keeping everything where it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So and
yeah.
then
And
go ahead.
well, we have during the new year, we're going to get real heavy into the programming of the show. We're still, about 8 months away. But yeah, we're going to have a lot of the same things we've had in the past back. Yep.
Yeah, good. And for a few years, you also the one of the IFBB shows were held in conjunction with your event. Is that going to ever come back, or will that not
You
be part
know,
of it?
that's a great question. And the reason why we went away from that one was we actually didn't want this to be a bodybuilding show. Um, I respect bodybuilders. I think they're fantastic, but when you bring in that bodybuilding element, it's pretty exclusive. And I think a lot of general fitness people don't necessarily feel 100% comfortable because it's just a uber like high-end fitness, right? And we wanted to be more inclusive of other people. So, and I didn't want my brand to be around bodybuilding. I want it to be around athletes. I want it to be around just feeling good, like fitness. Find your fit is our tagline, right? We wanted to be able to find any sort of fitness while you're there, and I felt that bodybuilding pigeonholed us a little bit. Bodybuilding pigeonholed us. So for this year, we don't have bodybuilding planned, but I won't rule it out in the future.
And will it still be at the same place this year, or are you moving it back downtown?
We'll be at Mountain America Expo Center. Yeah, we had a 3-year agreement with them that this will be the last year we fulfill with them. Yep.
All right. And, during COVID, for example, you really gave a unique spin on this that most people would have said, we're going to just like skip a year, or we can't do it because all the restrictions. But you really brought a unique aspect to it, and I thought it was brilliant, and it really worked out well.
Yeah, my biggest memory of that was seeing Rick here putting together a grill, because we were outdoors and we were grilling out there, and that was one of the best memories I've had. But we're unique where during COVID we actually expanded, which I don't know if there's one other event in the world that could have said that. But the reason being was 1 month before our expo at the Salt Palace, COVID hit. The Salt Palace turned into a COVID testing center, so we had no show. And if you know anything, obviously in the event business, is you prepaid deposits. So I would say about 85% of our ticket sales come at the door. So it's this weird influx of we prepaid most everything and we haven't received our revenue back. So we had to make lemonade out of lemons. And one of the things we hadn't considered before was, what if we took it outdoors? And so we took it outdoors to a park, and we ran it outdoors, and we brought in a musical element. We brought in BMX and like all these new types of fitness and types of sports. And then after the show, when we got the final bill, it was like, this is substantially cheaper than running it at the Salt Palace. Like, this is a viable product. So then we took it to Texas and then Florida. We started to take it outside of Utah because it was much more scalable.
Yeah. And it worked well outside. I think there was
Yeah.
one day it was extremely hot for that time of year, which was unusual too, I think. But all in all, I mean, it was really a positive response from all the attendees.
Yeah, and we honestly, like, I loved it outdoors, and our attendees did, but there was 1 or 2 shows in Texas that was so hot. Our first year in Texas, we had torrential downpours, and we had like tornado warnings. The next year, it was the hottest day of my life. So while there's a lot of good elements to it, there are the weather element is pretty tough.
Out of your hands.
It's out of our hand. Yeah. So the safer bets indoors. I mean, if we could get like an indoor-outdoor vibe, that would be perfect.
Right. Just ask the venue to like put roll-up doors.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
No, but it was good. But Mom in Texas was hot, wasn't it? Oh, that was probably miserable. Yeah, the best word. Yeah.
Did you go to that one?
I did the first year, not the second year. The first year was when we had the torrential rain on Friday evening. We had one little building, and your mom was in the merch shop and sweating like crazy. And
it was wild.
It was hot, but it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah. Next year was really hot.
That's what I heard. Yeah, I was not there for that one, but I heard it was blazing. So have you got a lot of your main sponsors? Like, I don't know if you want to mention any sponsors, but you've had a couple of sponsors that have been with you from the beginning.
Yeah. Utah has a really interesting and great local fitness space with a lot of really successful companies. And so, the Bucked Ups, obviously, those types of companies have been with us forever, and they're great partners and great friends. And so we're really going to go back to focusing on those local companies again, because Utah loves those companies with a great mix of national companies.
You also brought in a lot of good sponsors from the California region too, a few years ago too. Yeah.
When reaching sponsors, sponsors that travel out of state, there's obviously the cost of traveling, and so a lot of times the surrounding states are the best. So California, Colorado, Arizona, etc. We do have a large West Coast sponsorship base, I would say.
Right.
it's easier to get to, easy to travel, cheaper. So
We even for Texas had some of the Midwest and Missouri groups that came in, and you got to show them what being hot was all about too. So hopefully they'll make it back to Utah sometime.
hopefully,
Yeah. So, but now and then also parkour, which I did not even know what that was, until FitCon. There's just like I said, it goes back to a whole. It's not just booths. I mean, it's really like you said, you're an entertainer. It is entertaining. So
yeah. And that was a big shift that we understood was, even the sports we bring in, like for our athletes, you have to wear a lot of different hats. So if we're bringing in sports and athletes are coming in to compete at our venue, what's the athlete experience like? Big deal, right? Then we have attendees who pay an entry fee to come to our show. What's their experience like? Okay. And then we have sponsors and vendors who pay us to be at our show to sell to the attendees. What's their experience like? So you really have to break down each of the different customer journeys, so to speak, and understand their experience. And when we put on the hat of, okay, attendees come to our show to be entertained, it changes how you program the show. And parkour is one of those things that it's really cool to see in person, and you don't see it very often except for maybe on some movies, right? So that's why that made sense for us.
well, yeah, good way to explain that. And then you've got different levels for your attendees to choose from. You've got your just coming in for the day, or you've got your different packages, which include different options and different benefits. So that's been a brilliant way of marketing too.
Yeah, and that's good. And those are, what most people would call just different upsells, just to create a little bit higher product customer value. The key on those that I found is obviously unique things that people like, but also like how do these come from a fulfillment side? Like, can we fulfill on all of this? And the balance between the two has been kind of the bread and butter for what we've done.
Right. And then a lot of your main companies that come in for the show, they bring their sponsored athletes as well.
Yep.
And that's been a huge factor that's helped so much because the fitness industry, they have some great followers. I mean, that's for sure. And
Yeah.
And you're right about find your fit, because there are people there that you can tell they work out all the time, or most of the time, and there's some that come for the first time that have no clue about fitness as far as taking it to a serious level. I mean, they're fitness minded, but at the same time not die hard, I guess. But it's fun to watch their faces and hear their comments too, because it's just good to see that take as well. And it
Well,
gets them
that's exactly why we shifted to we're entertainers, because if we were just straight fitness show, then bodybuilding would be a staple. But a lot of those people who might be a little intimidated don't feel real comfortable being around bodybuilders, unfortunately. And so that's why we shifted into that alternative mindset as to what we have to currently, which is find your fit.
Yeah, and also the volunteer part of it. You've got some people in the Utah area that have been with you with FitCon, even the last 2 years when you weren't there, that they were there when I came out the first time, and they were with you before that. I mean, those are some serious, loyal volunteers there. That's for sure.
People like you, Rick. It's mind blowing.
About their names that actually escape me right now, but the couple that does the ticketing,
Yeah.
they know their routine, they know what to do,
Yeah.
and they are very diehard with that. So,
Yeah. And I think too, super fortunate to have people volunteer their time. But again, it goes back to like the more that I'm understanding the power of community, people are searching for communities, right? Right. Like they want some sort of community, whether that be going to a show or volunteering with their volunteer community and the friends and the support. And I can either choose to take their volunteer work and just let them do their job, or I can try and build a community and make them feel good and make them feel appreciated and create friendships and real lasting relationships, right? And I think that's the approach I've taken, which is why they come back every single year, because they enjoy it. It's something fun to do. They're entertained, and it's a great community of people.
that's true. Yeah. So, any plans to take it anywhere other than Utah right now? Or are we just going to
Right now,
focus
no.
on
We're just focusing on Utah. We got to build it back up to where it was, and create that foundation again.
I'm just amazed to see in August how explosive it's going to be, because I know it's going to be off the chart. So it will be good.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I don't know how trends have shifted over the last couple of years, as far as live events. And so that'll be an interesting thing to pay attention to is, are people still doing live events? And if so, is it more of a fanfare thing? Is it more of a educational thing? Is it more of a, I'm bored, I need something to do? So these are all different trends that I'll be taking a look at as far as, articulating our marketing message. And hopefully we have the right message to the people and it resonates.
All right. All right. We're going to put your information on the screen for how people should contact you. And that way we'll have that information.
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right. And
there it is. Rick, thank you, man. Like, I think Victoria and myself, my wife, every year we talk about how thankful we are for you. And the fact you make the trip every year is just remarkable. And we don't expect it ever. I mean, every year I think we're like, Rick, don't come this year. You've done too much. And, you still come, and we love you and we're thankful for it. And it's been a true blessing and honor to get to know you.
Same here. And you and Victoria have always been super nice to me, your mom and your sister. I mean, and
yeah.
the whole family, now. So, but yeah, it's a blast, and I'll definitely be back there in August as well. So,
that's good. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us today. And thank you for joining us for Lux Life Discovered. We'll see you next time on Lux Life Discovered.
Check out Lux Life Discovered on Facebook and Instagram and on 30a.tv. See you next time on Lux Life Discovered.